Hi, my name is Aster Megan. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a junior at Clark University, and I'm the director of the Haunted House and the secretary of Clark University Players Society. So my vision for the Haunted House is not solely my own. We had the writers committee get together. We had a bunch of people sign up to talk it out, see what sort of things we wanted to bring to Clark. The dining hall at Clark is not the best. Everyone here knows it. And then we got the new food provider, Harvest Table, and we all got so excited. And it's still bad. So we were like, what can we do with that? What can we do to make something horror but make it Clark? So the food causes the zombie apocalypse. And as everyone knows this tall tale of Freud getting food poisoning at Clark, he is one of the survivors. And there is a cult that worships him and wants blood to feed Freud. A lot of the feedback that we got from last year was that there was no coherent theme or plot line. And so that's one of the main things that I went to work on was there has to be a story. There has to be an objective. Otherwise, why is the audience entering any of these rooms? Why should they follow the tour guide? I think that's also a thing personally for me, just as a storyteller. We came up with the overall theme with the writers committee, but the storyline came together a lot with the actors. We had a little workshop where we let them come up with what they wanted to happen in the rooms. We just gave them the premise because I wanted them to have time to work with each other, to think about the sort of things they want to perform.
My name is Camilla Vitolafranchi, and I will be playing a human in room 1 for this haunted house. We got a structure for it, and then we got in. Most of it really was trying to figure out blocking. Most of the storyline that we had, because ours were so loose, was figuring out where we could run in the room, where we needed to put the chairs, because we couldn't take them out of the room. So we had to figure out, we ended up putting them in a half blockade kind of thing, and getting them out of the way. And then plot points were given to us, so we just had to figure out where we were going to run around and when to scream.
I think that sound design and set is integral to a horror experience. You cannot get terror without the uneasy music in the background unnerving you. If you watched a horror movie without sound, it's just funny. Or at least I think it's just funny. I may be the wrong person to ask about that. If you can't tell from me, everything about me is I like spooky stuff. If we didn't have the sound of saws in the surgery room or the groaning of the zombies, they're just people. We also need the set to add that ambiance of the dark lighting, because if it's too light, you know exactly what's happening. It's the same reason why in a horror movie the monster is not scary once you've seen its face. What is scary is the not knowing. So we can't give everything away. So really important that we try to make the most of the space we have, because we're having to use classrooms. It is not exactly what you would typically use for a haunted house.
I did do it last year, and I thought it was really fun, and I'm a huge horror enthusiast. I love scary things. I love doing scary things, and I love seeing scary things. Actually, it was Aster last year and this year who told me the opportunity and said that I might have fun, and then I tried it, and then I did have fun, so why not do it again?
We only really have the bits and pieces of stuff student council's letting us buy, little pieces of stuff from cups, and then desks. So we have to make the most with that, and so we're doing our best. I think that we are adding to the terror of it by setting it as a zombie apocalypse at Clark, because then we can use that atmosphere and it works. And it's oh, turned over desks doesn't look cheap, it looks like it happened. I want guests to feel, if not scared, at least excited and they're having fun. The main point of theater is to enjoy it. I think if you're not having fun, there's no point in doing it at all. You can see when an actor isn't enjoying it. I want to make sure the actors are having fun because that will make the audience have fun. I have been in shows and worked on shows where you can see that everyone is miserable. and it impacts the performance. And like a great example for this would be like the Greek show, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and all Greek mythology in 99 minutes or less that happened last year. Everyone was so happy and so excited to be there and to put on that show, and it was contagious. The audience had a great time. And so if I can make the actors have fun, if I can make that safe space for them to enjoy themselves, then I can make sure the audience has a good time.
My name is April Kronowski. I use they, them pronouns. I am a senior, so this is my 4th year at Clark, my last year. And my role in the haunted house is kind of like lead makeup artist. I also kind of just like am a second set of ears for Aster, and they're kind of running it, but I'm like there. But more generally, I am the president of Cups. My parents let me watch this show when I was younger, called Face Off. And it was basically like Project Runway, but for special effects artists. And it was super, super cool. Like, a lot of the people on the show were incredibly talented, and it was a lot of like sculpting and like monster work. And a lot of like the judges, the long-running judges on the show were people who had worked on like massive franchises like Star Trek and all these different things, like people who were experts in their field. And like, something about that, it was just such a formative like experience of my childhood that I became really attached to like this idea of special effects. But I wasn't really into like the monster side of things, and like aliens and creating like creatures. I was really, and this is like, I'm like 10 at this point in my life. I was really into wounds and like blood and gore. Something about that, like the intricacy and the care that goes into mimicking real life and like exploring something that is very scary, like wounds and death and like violence, in a place where it's less of like an emotionally charged thing and almost like a puzzle where you're trying to figure out like, well, this thing happened, and so I need to make this person look like they've been burned, or I need to make them look like they have a bruise that's been healing for 3 weeks specifically. Like, stuff like that is just so fascinating to me. And I was just kind of drawn to it. When it comes to coming up with like character design and everything, the first place I always look is gonna be Pinterest. I'm just such like a Pinterest girly. There's like degrees of special effects where it's like hyper realistic, and then there's like Splatterfest that's just like needlessly like bloody and awful. And right in the middle, there's like this sweet spot of like realistic enough, but also you have control over style. That's kind of my favorite area to work in. But sometimes, especially with Haunted House, like doing makeup for something like this is completely different from doing makeup for a film. Because with Haunted House, you have to take into account that like people are seeing these individuals like face to face, and also like lighting is very different. With film, you're getting like close-ups and everything's lit very like intentionally, versus with Haunted House, you have like a bunch of strobing lights and like loud sounds, and people are jumping out and like might only be seen in like a flash. And so the main goal is to take the shapes of the face and make them unfamiliar. And so with Haunted House makeup, you see a lot of really severe like contouring and like really bold lines and more color than you do in a human person. Once you decide like what the general creative vision is, like we knew we were doing zombies, we knew we were gonna have some like humans and stuff. The next step is basically taking things like this, taking makeup plots. I use these because they give me the human face, and sketching out basically like what each makeup look is going to end up being. So with one like this, with this human sketch, like I sketched a couple different injury options, how I wanted the face to be contoured to ensure that like we're keeping these humans cohesive. When it comes to like creating specifically realistic effects, I've recently started working with silicon, or I think most people pronounce it silicone. That, in terms of special effects makeup, is the most realistic like skin-like texture you can get, and you can get so creative with it. And I think that's like a really fun thing for people to like run with. So yeah, like it's a lot of just researching and sketching and coming up with ideas, doing makeup tests, like trying it out on people. The biggest challenge is always time. You always could use more time.
There's not enough time to get anything done. I wanted to start like in August, but we had to prioritize the main stage.
It's kind of like a firework where you have one chance to light it, and if it doesn't go, you can't use it again. And it's kind of like that because it's like a one night only. We have 2 hours to prep everything and an hour to take it down. And that sort of like tight turnaround is actually pretty common in a lot of haunt locations and like in a lot of haunt experiences.
We only got a lot of our supplies this week. The haunted house is in 2 days, which is insane. I shouldn't have to be sending people to run around and go pick up packages, and we still don't have some of our supplies. We're just gonna have to make do.
I didn't talk about what the theme was last year, and I didn't do it this year either because I wanted it to be a surprise. But my friends did know that I was in this haunted house, and that was the most difficult for me. I was talking about unexpected guest interactions. My friends, because they wouldn't be scared by me. They know me. I'm not scary. So they would, like, and they all came in the same group. Like, 60% of this one group was just people I knew. And, like, I stayed in character. I did it. I went through all of my things, but I didn't get all the reactions that I was expecting. And they tried to, like, make me laugh the entire time. But we laughed about it after, like, for 20 minutes because it was just people like looking at me and like making faces and me looking back like, ugh. It was, it was really something. If that happens again, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I don't know. I just want the haunted house to make people happy. I can't guarantee anything, but at the very least, I love Halloween and I love horror and spooky things, and I just want to be able to share that with everybody, to give them a good time, even if it's only for like 15 minutes. I'm not gonna be here forever. I want at least one thing at Clark where I can be like, I did that. Look at that. And people can remember that.
That was so much more terrifying than last year.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The hallway was really scary. People like kept chasing me.
Yeah, it was actually a lot better than I expected. It was really fun. I loved the kind of Freud theming. I thought that was smart and cute.
I do get very scared, but when I went in, they were yelling at me, which was awesome, but I didn't feel overwhelmed, which is great.
I had a really good time. I thought the actors did a great job. It was really just, I had my friend here. There was a couple instances, some of the loud noises. The dark rooms, great. The barricade room was special. That was good. Great improvisation.
Shit was crazy.
Yes.
Shit was scary. Oh my God. I think I got bit, bro.
Blood is pumping.
Oh my God, yeah. I actually had to run out a few of them. I had to.
But the creativity of like the barricade, the food poisoning, using all like parts of Clark that makes Clark Clark, but with like a shift of like horror was really well incorporated, and it was really fun seeing my friends, but not actually because they were zombies.
Would do again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Per.
Part 2, Part 3, Part 4.
Yeah.
D'Angelo.
My heart is beating so fast.
I was scared for my life.
I can't even.
That's my favorite zombie right there. That's my twin.
Everyone's just so talented. The tech crew, the makeup artists, the actors. I'm really proud of everyone who's been a part of this, and so I hope everyone at Clark can appreciate them as much as I do.
I think that was a beautiful answer and a beautiful note to end on.
Yay.